So let us now look at the wall tool. So the wall tool is there. Click on it to activate it, and then proceed to the settings dialog. So for the wall tool, this is the settings dialog for the wall, and here we have different panels. We have the geometry and positioning. We have another one, the profile offset modifiers, that is currently off, or it is a read-only panel. We have the floor plan and section. We have the model. We have the structural analytic parameters. Then we have the classification and properties. So let us start with the geometry and positioning. So this is the most important panel, and one of the things that you do in this panel is to control the height of your particular wall. So this is where you set the height of a particular wall. Then you choose the type of wall that you want to place. Now there are three types of wall in Archicad. You can have a basic wall, you can have a composite wall, and you can have a complex profile. So these types are structural types. So you have three types of structure of walls in Archicad. So for a basic wall, it's just a wall with one skin. For a composite wall, is a wall that has more than one skin. Maybe a wall with the main core or with the main structure, and then have some finishes. That is a composite type of a wall. And then we have the complex profile. So a complex profile, it is similar to composite walls, but in this case, the levels of the various skins can be different, or can differ. So that is the main difference, and we are going to look at each of these. And then you can set, if you choose the basic type of a structure, you can choose the material from this point. So if you click on generic structural here, so by default that is the material, but you can always change the material here. So these are the materials that we have in this default profile that we chose, and you can always add a material to your Archicad. You can always add materials, and we are going to look at that later in the course. And then contrary to the basic wall, composite wall, you choose a structure. You don't choose the material, but you choose a structure here. So in that case, it is created in another wizard, or it is created in another point that we are going to look at. And similar to the composite, the complex profile type of wall is also created somewhere else in another window or in another section. So we are going to look at them and see how we can create a composite wall, and also how we can create a complex profile wall. So those are the structure, and then you can choose the material. In this case, if it is a basic structure wall, or even you can choose the type, because you choose the type if you are dealing with the composite or even the complex profile. So it is created somewhere else, and we are going to look at that. And then of course you can change the geometry method. Let us say the geometry method. You can have a straight wall and a trapezoidal type of a wall. So in this case, for a trapezoidal, you choose the various, because the thickness is varying. You can choose the thickness for maybe one edge and another edge, and the thickness can differ. So we are going to place a type like that. And remember, if I choose to basic, currently I'm at composite. At composite, there is a polygonal type of a wall that is currently off. But if I choose structure here, or I choose the basic structure, you can see now the polygonal type of a wall, it is there. And of course now I think this one, you define the various measurements in the drawing area graphically. So it is important that you note that we have the three types of walls. And then below that we have the wall complexity. So it can be straight, it can be slanted, or it can be double slanted. In this case, a double slanted could be type of a wall where you are creating maybe a retaining wall or a spatial wall. So in that case, you'd use a double slanted wall. Now, if I choose another geometric method, maybe a trapezoid, you can see now the wall complexity changes such that you cannot choose the type of complexity. So again, if I choose the composite, again you expect the same. So again, with this kind of polygonal type of a wall, you don't have these ones are actually inactive, or actually they are read-only. So generally we can conclude that these types of wall complexity are only applicable to straight geometry method of a wall. And then for this particular kind of a wall, you can choose the thickness. For example, what is the thickness of this wall? So this is a straight wall. If you choose a trapezoid type of a wall, you choose two thicknesses, because the difference between a trapezoid or type and a straight type is that one of the thickness, one of the value for a particular thickness is different from the other. So that is the priority that you have for a trapezoidal type. So again, for the complexity, we have the straight, we have the slanted, and once you choose the slanted, you choose the angle of the slant. And of course, we have another one that is a bit tapered. So for this one, you choose the thickness at the bottom. What is the thickness at the base, or even at the bottom? And then you choose the angles for one side and then the angle for the other side, so that you can have a double slanted type of a wall. Or even you can decide to have one wall that is at a 90 degree and then another wall that is slanted. So that is the double slanted type of a wall. Let us mostly will be dealing with the straight wall, as the type of complexity. So here you choose the height and then the position, where will the wall be positioned. For example, this one will be placed starting from the home story here, which is 0 ground floor. Of course, you can choose like that, but here it is just like that, and we are going to illustrate that. And then you have the reference line. We are going to look at the reference line on its own. So here you do those particular settings, and in fact I do not deal with the reference line at this point. I deal them at a point here, the reference line location. I deal with them at the information box. I don't deal with them at the dialog box, but of course you can decide to deal with them at this point. But as you get used to ArchiCAD, you realize that this one, the reference line, the information box, is a bit more useful. Yeah. And then we have a profile offset modifier. So that particular panel is only applicable to this particular wall type, a complex profile wall type. And even if I select it and you choose a type here, you can see there is some type that will allow the changing of some settings there. Yeah. And let's choose another one. We see if they allow. Other types don't allow, like this one. So generally we can say that for this part to be shown, or for that panel to be shown, there are some settings that you need to do, and you not do them here. You do them when you are creating these particular walls, so that you enable them, or you enable that particular profile, or that particular wall profile have a modifier. So once you set it to have a modifier, then this tab will be there, and this is now where you can change the modifiers. And here what you modify is actually the skin height, or yeah, the height or the width, whatever it is that needs to be modified. But they are the levels. They are the various levels of the various skins. And then below that we have the floor plan and section. So floor plan and section, you are going to meet it with most, in fact almost all of these elements, especially with the 3D elements. So floor plan and section is where you set the display of this element, in this case the wall. So a wall is made up of lines, and then it is made up of maybe fields. or even some color. So this is where you set them, and that affect the 2D, the display in plan, and the display in section. We are going to cover this part when we are dealing with representation, because I prefer explaining it on its own so that you can understand what is happening. And then we have the display. Okay, we have the floor plan display, where you choose the type of projections. How is the particular wall shown? And then you have the cut surfaces, the outlines. So we are going to look at them. And then we have here below the floor plan and section, we have the model. So this one, it is better illustrated. We are going to look at it, but for now, let us leave it. It is better illustrated, and I'm going to illustrate it. Then we have the structural analytical parameters. So this is for the structural engineers, but for now I'm not concerned with that, because we will not even look at this, because there is a point where you can control the type of panels that are shown. Maybe this would be one of them that should be removed because we don't really need it. But for now, let us just proceed with that. Then below that, we have the classification and properties. So remember, ArchiCAD is a BIM tool, and one of the features of a BIM tool is information exchange. So you can provide information about this particular wall. Now, this one is a multidisciplinary panel, because as you can see, we have the ratings. So what is the thermal transmittance? So that, of course, may be beyond the scope of an architect. In that case, maybe another person who is maybe a fire expert would come and fill this detail. For example, if it is the fire resistant rating, you choose the rating, and then the main construction, maybe the contractor would proceed and provide some information concerning this. So what is the technology that will be used? And then an environmental specialist would provide the information about this particular wall. Then the number of bricks, maybe here is where now the QS would have some application where he would give the various specifications about this number of bricks, the brick size, the mortar thickness, like that, and the brick volume if need be, and then the number of bricks to purchase. So in that case, that would be a QS side. And then of course there are other things, including the cost of the structure. So cost per volume, again, this one will be a part for the cost expert to provide information about this. So there is a number of information that can be added there. Then maybe the structural engineer would do the same. So in that case, this is an information it is an information panel where you provide information about this particular element, and then you can always extract that information, especially from the schedules. Yeah, we are going to look at the schedules. But here, the structural function, maybe here we can make that wall a load-bearing element, and the position we can just choose exterior. So those are some of the information that you can add, and then you can rename this type of a wall. You can give it an ID, and using the ID, you can be able to extract information about that particular wall. So that is the classification and properties. And then to the extreme bottom there, we have the layer here. So here you choose the layer for the wall. So what exactly is a layer? So a layer in ArchiCAD is like a group of elements that have been placed together. So this group may be of particular elements that are closely related. For example, you can decide to place all walls at a group. So that group, we call it a layer. And then you can decide to maybe place all the element that use reinforced concrete, or even you can decide to place all concrete frame component into a type of a layer or a group. Yeah, so in that case, that is called a layer. And one of the important aspect of layers is the ability now to maybe group things when you are editing your model. For example, you can decide to hide a layer from your model and be able to view others in a better way. So that is how layers work, and we are going to look at them. And then layers, we are going to look at them. So you choose a layer here, but by default each of these element has a layer. So example, this one is structural bearing, and what ArchiCAD does, it places all these similar components. For example, it places the wall, the staircase, the slabs into structural bearing. So that is just the default layer. You can always change a layer. You can always create your own layers. You can decide to place all the ground floor walls into their own layers. So you can customize it. You can decide what to do with these layers. So that is what we have in the wall settings dialog.